Hey guys, Elizabeth Barlow here, co-owner of GlassSlipper.co, and I apologize for using these things. The noise level in my house is always crazy. Two kids and a dog. But I wanted to talk to you today about PayPal and the fraud that we have been talking about with the group and just kind of clear some things up and hopefully provide some information that might help you avoid being taken advantage of. So, with the group being open back up, which we are happy to make that change, it comes at a cost of us not being able to regulate what buyers are using to pay for their transactions. So, that kind of creates a situation where the fraud can return if you're not using the right payment method. So, I want to go into the differences between PayPal and PayPal Friends and Family. So, PayPal Friends and Family is intended for you personally knowing the person and you are sending them money for whatever reason. There is no goods or services being guaranteed. There's nothing being shipped. And so there's no fee for the buyer or the seller. It would be a situation like you went to dinner with your best friend and she picked it up and you left your wallet at home and you're sending her $20 because that was your part of the meal. So there's no buyer-seller protection because there's no situation for that to be needed, basically. So again, PayPal, Friends and Family, should not be used to pay for any goods or services. You will not be protected, whether you are the buyer or the seller. There's no protection. So then traditional PayPal, let's talk about that. Traditional PayPal is used for goods and services. Items may be shipped or services are being guaranteed. The seller pays 2.9% plus a 30-cent transaction fee on every transaction. So let's say there's a $1,000 dress being sold. That seller will pay a 2.9% fee plus 30 cents for that transaction. That being said, both of the seller and the buyer are guaranteed should something go wrong. So now let's go into some scenarios on where something could go wrong. So how do I know if I'm protected? How do I know if I have used the right payment method? Well, the ways that you can know are you paid the seller via an invoice that they sent to you. So they emailed you an invoice and it lays out the item or the items that you're buying. Any sales tax or shipping are calculated. You can see everything broken down and then a final amount that you have to pay. So once you pay that invoice, whether you use your PayPal balance or your credit card or your debit card or e-check, whatever you use to pay that invoice, PayPal knows that that is a business transaction because PayPal has sellers actually create a business PayPal account to be able to send invoices. So that seller will be charged that fee and both the buyer and the seller will be protected by the PayPal buyer-seller protection. So that's one way you can know. If you sent the seller your payment, so you sent it, you logged into your PayPal account, you chose to send money, you sent it to the seller's email address, you have to manually choose goods and services over friends and family. And the way you're going to know that you chose the right one is friends and family will show that neither the buyer nor the seller pay a fee, and the goods and services will show that your seller will pay a fee on this transaction. And so if you notice that the seller's going to pay a fee, you clicked goods and services, both you and the seller are protected for your transaction. Now, there are situations where the seller will not be protected on the transaction. So we're going to go into the difference between the protections for a buyer and the protections for a seller. So the protections for a buyer, if you never received your item, if it's not as described, you can file a claim with PayPal and they are going to work on your claim. They're going to get information from the seller. If you say you never received it, they're going to ask the seller to prove that they have tracking. If it's not as described, they may ask for pictures for the item, how it was listed, and a picture of what you actually received. Now, that being said, in this community, we do not file claims against our sellers because we got something and it didn't fit. It is the buyer's responsibility to communicate with the person listing the item on making sure they listed the correct size and making sure they listed if there were any alterations done to that dress or that item. So then we know if I'm normally a size 6 and this thing's been altered down with different measurements, it might fit my top and not my bottom or vice versa. So it's very important that we have really good communication, because you cannot open a chargeback, or I'm sorry, a claim against your seller because you failed to see if it was going to fit you ahead of time by getting those measurements from your seller. So now let's move into how sellers are protected with traditional PayPal. If a buyer says that they didn't get their item, then they open a claim, then you can actually provide the tracking information to show that that item was delivered. Now, there is a caveat in that though, because if the buyer has the wrong address on their payment in their PayPal account, and that's what's automatically populated, and then they send you a message to say, oh, the wrong shipping address was on that payment, can you send it to this address instead? You cannot do that and be protected. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go to the transaction, refund the buyer's money, and either send them a new invoice so that they can put in the correct information, or refund their money and ask them to resend the payment to you with the correct address. Because what PayPal is going to do is they are going to hold the seller responsible that they ship it to the verified shipping address on that buyer's account. And if you don't, and they say they never got it, whether they got it or not, they can open a claim and they're going to win every time because it did not go to that verified address on that buyer's account. And so the next one is if your customer has buyer's remorse and they file a chargeback on an item, and they don't even open a claim with PayPal, they just call their credit card company or their bank and they say, you know, I don't recognize this transaction, I didn't do it, wasn't me, I want my money back. Well, what's going to happen is the bank or the credit card company is going to temporarily provide them with a credit for that transaction while they investigate. And another bonus of what PayPal will do to protect the seller is they will actually represent you to that crediting agency or that bank to provide them with documentation and details of, yes, this item was purchased through us, yes, this seller shipped it, here's the tracking information. And that's why it's very important for our sellers to keep tabs on having tracking information, saving any messages that you may have with the buyer, because when and if that buyer files a chargeback, all of that documentation is going to help you make a case and will help PayPal make a case for you to the credit card company or the bank, and be able to help you hopefully avoid that chargeback situation and that buyer getting away with either free goods or services. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? So I really wanted to do this video sooner than later. One, because we just recently made that big change where we opened the group back up. And two, because I recently, I don't want to say victim, or what do I want to say? The unfortunate buyer involved in a not so great transaction. So I paid this what seemed reputable lady for 2 gowns, and I did this back on May 31st, and I used the traditional PayPal. So she sent me an invoice, I paid it, and it's now July 15th, and I do not have those dresses. And so I communicated with this seller numerous times since May 31st and asked, hey, do you have tracking yet? Do you have tracking yet? And it was guaranteed to be here actually by today for an alterations appointment that I have tomorrow, and it's not here. And my alterations appointment is at 8 in the morning. So I don't think it's going to be here in time. So what I did was I went into PayPal and I filed a claim letting them know that I have not received my item. And, you know, unfortunately I had to do that, but it's been over 30 days. And it was never communicated to me that they would not be able to get me my dresses with over a 30-day period. It actually quite the opposite. I asked numerous times, will it be here by this date? Oh yeah, no problem. So that was not what happened. So now because I used the right way to pay, I am expecting that I will have the opportunity for PayPal to review the case. I sent them the messages back and forth with the guarantee it would be here on time. I sent them the message saying that they did not have a tracking number for me, and I'm hoping that PayPal will refund my money. And so I will hopefully get my money back, and the seller will keep their dresses and be able to resell them. So that's how that should go. If I had used friends and family to pay for those 2 dresses, excuse me, I would be completely out $600. Like, I would have absolutely no recourse for getting my money back, because PayPal would have viewed that as you just paid a friend or a family member. So there's no buyer protection on that. So fortunately, I paid the right way. I want to encourage all of you to please buy and sell the right way when it comes to PayPal. Buyers and sellers alike, guys, I know the fees are something that everybody tries to avoid, because you're trying to make as much money as you possibly can to either afford your next pageant or clear out your closet. We all want to save money. That's why we're all here. That's why we're all members of this big group family. But that extra 2.9% that you, the seller, are going to have to pay, or buyers, your seller is going to have to pay, is really worth it when you start talking about hundreds of dollars in gowns. I hate hearing of people who do these things in good faith. They pay to reduce the fee on the seller in good faith because, maybe they were like, oh, well, they seem like a really nice person. And then, something happens. And for whatever reason, they've gone on vacation. Oh, I'll get you your dress when I get back. Or, my house burned down, God forbid. Like, I'll order you another dress. Like, there's just so many excuses that get made. Or on the seller's front, they said they never got it and they want their money back, and now I'm going to be out there money and a dress, but I have tracking proof. Like, if you didn't have them pay you the correct way, you're out money and a dress. So I just really want to encourage everybody, please, please, please pay the right way. Protect yourselves. Christina and I and the Glass Slipper team, we're here to go through, and I and Christina look at every single person who asks to be a member of the group and really check them out. And we also internally keep tabs on the number of times that a buyer or a seller has had a concern. So we work very closely with the ladies over in the Pageant Buyer Beware group, and we are all in constant communication. And so we keep kind of like tabs on what's going on. And if you are a buyer or a seller who has had more than 3 complaints lodged against you, like, we don't want to continue to provide a forum or a venue for you to take advantage of people. So we will block buyers and sellers for inappropriate conduct or scamming in this group. We will refund their subscription fee in a heartbeat to protect our members. That is what we're here to do. And we are constantly looking at posts, making sure that the right things are being posted. Nobody's coming in here and spamming everybody. So I want you guys to know, like, Christina and I and the team, we take this group very seriously. We devote hours upon hours to thinking of new ways that we can hope to protect everyone and really educate everyone on best practices for buying and selling, so that you can protect yourselves. And I just want to thank everybody so much for being here and choosing Glass Slipper ISO and Glass Slipper Marketplace to do your buying and selling. We love having so many of our pageant sisters in these groups, guys. It really it's overwhelming to see how many of us are connected because of this place. So I want to say we always act with the intentions of positivity and keeping everybody in mind. And I want to just say, please feel free to reach out to either Christina or myself with any questions or concerns or anything you may need. Thanks so much again for watching my video, and please stay tuned for more exciting things to come from GlassSlipper.co.